What if the man who invented the 20th century, the master of electricity and lightning, held a final secret that had nothing to do with technology? What if his greatest discovery wasn't about how to power the world, but about the very nature of reality itself? We have the final testimony of Nikola Tesla, a long-lost interview given in the twilight of his life, where he speaks not as an engineer, but as a seer. In it, he describes the universe as a symphony of vibration, matter as frozen light, and death as a simple transition into another state of being. But this is only half of the evidence. At the exact same time in history, another man, a simple photographer from Kentucky named Edgar Cayce, was doing the impossible. While in a deep trance, Cayce claimed he could leave his body and access a cosmic library of all knowledge, a place he called the Akashic Records, a living information field where the story of every soul was written. One man called it the ether, a living intelligent field of energy. The other called it the Akashic Records, a cosmic database of all memory. This is not a coincidence. This is a case. It presents evidence for one of the most profound ideas ever conceived, that the universe itself has a memory, and that certain minds, through science or through spirit, could learn to read it. To understand this case, we must first understand the witnesses. They were not mystics in the traditional sense. They were instruments of perception, calibrated to a different frequency of reality. Nikola Tesla was not a normal thinker. His mind operated like a camera. He possessed an eidetic memory, able to recall entire books in perfect detail. He didn't build prototypes. He built them entirely in his mind, running them for weeks to check for flaws before a single screw was turned. He spoke of seeing flashes of blinding light that would reveal the blueprints for his inventions. He didn't invent the AC motor. He saw it, fully formed, in a vision. He was less an inventor and more a receiver, a man whose consciousness was a finely tuned antenna, capable of picking up signals directly from the universe's underlying field. Across the country, Edgar Cayce was an even greater paradox. Awake, he was a humble religious man with no medical training and only a 9th grade education. He had never read a word of philosophy, but when he entered his self-induced sleep state, a different voice would speak through him, a voice that could diagnose illnesses in people he had never met with perfect accuracy, a voice that could speak with authority on ancient civilizations, the laws of karma, and the intricate journey of the soul after death. For over 40 years, his every trance was documented by a stenographer, creating over 14,000 readings. These transcripts form the largest single body of psychic information from any one person in history. Cayce claimed the information wasn't his. He was simply reading a book, the book of the universe itself. These were not men of opinion. They were men of data. One gathered it through the rigorous lens of physics and electromagnetism, the other through a process we still cannot explain. But their conclusions were converging on the same impossible truth. Their very biology seemed engineered for this purpose. Tesla's famous eccentricities were not mere personality quirks. They were the side effects of an impossibly sensitive instrument. He claimed to hear thunder hundreds of miles away, and the footfalls of a fly landing on a table would reverberate through his body like a dull thud. His entire nervous system was an oscillograph, registering the subtle tremors of the cosmic web. This wasn't a mind that merely thought. It was a mind that resonated. The flashes of light he reported were not hallucinations. They were moments when his consciousness achieved perfect resonance with the universal field, and the information downloaded in an instant. Cayce, on the other hand, was an unwilling channel. He feared his gift, initially believing it could be the work of a dark force. Yet when he laid down and closed his eyes, he described his consciousness traveling, moving through darkness until it reached a single point of light, which then opened into a vast library. There, a keeper of records would hand him a book, the book of the life he was asked to examine. He simply opened it and read what was written. Doctors and scientists tried to debunk him for decades, bringing him the most complex medical cases, but the results were undeniable. The sleeping prophet, as he came to be known, delivered data so precise that it saved lives, forcing the most rigid skeptics to concede that something profound was happening, even if they could not explain the mechanism. At the core of both men's testimony is a radical redescription of reality, a vision of the universe not as a collection of dead objects, but as a living, thinking organism. Tesla, in his final interview, laid out the blueprint. First, he stated that the universe originated from a primary source of infinite light, an energy that is intelligent, omnipresent, and eternal. Second, he claimed that all matter, everything we see and touch, is nothing more than this light, compressed and frozen into a specific vibratory pattern. The stars, the planets, our bodies, they are all thoughts in the mind of the cosmos, held in place by frequency. Third, and most importantly, he concluded that death as we understand it is an illusion. If the body is just a temporary configuration of light, and the energy that animates it is eternal, then we do not die. The vibration simply changes. The wave returns to the ocean. None of those who ever lived have truly died, he said, because energy is eternal, and life is a form of energy. Simultaneously, Edgar Cayce, reading from his cosmic library, described the same reality but with a different vocabulary. He called Tesla's primary source of light simply God, or the creative forces. He called Tesla's vibrations the fundamental nature of existence. For Cayce, everything, a thought, a word, an action, a soul, was a vibration recorded in the skein of time and space. This was the Akashic record, not a book of words, but a field of vibrational memory. And on the subject of death, Cayce was explicit. He described the process in thousands of readings. The soul, a fragment of the divine light, separates from the physical body. It then undertakes a journey through other dimensions, or planes of consciousness, to review the life it just lived. This was not a judgment, but a self-assessment, a process of understanding the lessons of every moment before planning its next incarnation. Tesla saw the physics, Cayce saw the purpose, but both saw the same fundamental mechanism, a universe made of information, where consciousness is the only thing that is truly real and eternal. Imagine the universe not as a stage, but as a vast holographic film. Tesla's insight was that the projector, the primary source of light, is everywhere at once. The light isn't just what illuminates the film, it is the film. Every object, every star, every atom is a pixel of light, vibrating at a frequency so slow and dense that it appears solid to our limited senses. Our lives, in this model, are a single continuous beam of that light, temporarily focused through the lens of a human body. Now imagine Edgar Cayce had access to the editing room. From his trance state, he could see the entire film at once. He saw the beam of light before it entered the lens of this life, and he could see the path it would take after the lens was gone. The Akashic record was the film itself. When Cayce did a life reading, he was describing the scenes already recorded on that individual strip of film, the karma, the relationships, the lessons. He saw that our experiences weren't random events. They were the curriculum the soul had chosen for itself. This is where their visions lock together perfectly. Tesla's science explains the how. We are eternal energy, temporarily shaped into matter. Cayce's mysticism explains the why, that energy is on a journey of learning and evolution, and it records every step of its progress in the memory of the cosmos. One man saw the eternal engine, the other saw the driver's logbook. If what Tesla and Cayce described is true, then its implications are not just philosophical, they are explosive. It redefines everything about who we are and why we are here. The first implication is that consciousness is not a product of the brain. It is the other way around. The brain does not create consciousness. Consciousness uses the brain as a receiver, a translator to experience this dense physical reality. You are not the radio, you are the signal. This means that when the radio breaks, the signal does not stop. It continues to broadcast. Our greatest fear, the fear of annihilation, is based on a mistaken identity. The second implication is that our lives are infinitely more meaningful than we can imagine. If every thought, word, and action is a vibration permanently recorded in a cosmic field, then nothing is ever lost. Nothing is forgotten. Every moment of kindness, every act of courage, every choice we make echoes in eternity. Imagine the life review described by Cayce, not as a film you watch, but as an ocean where you must feel the effect of every drop of water you added to it. How would that change the way we live right now? This leads to the third and most transformative implication. We are not passive observers in the universe. We are active co-creators. Tesla believed this energy field responded to our thoughts. Cayce was adamant about it. He called our minds the builder of our reality. The vibrations we generate through our intentions and emotions are not just internal feelings, they are broadcasts. They are instructions sent out to the universal field, which then shapes the reality we experience in return. This single idea dismantles the wall between science and spirituality. It suggests that prayer, Intention and karma are not religious concepts. They are the physics of a conscious universe. They are the laws of vibrational correspondence. If this is true, then we are not victims of circumstance. We are architects of our destiny, wielding a power we have long forgotten. This framework presents a profound ethical challenge to our modern sense of self. We live in a culture that often encourages a sense of cosmic accident, the idea that we are a random assortment of molecules on a lonely planet, and that our lives are a brief spark between two eternities of nothingness. This worldview, while scientifically convenient, allows for a certain kind of spiritual apathy. If nothing ultimately matters, then our choices have no ultimate weight. But the Tesla-Casey model proposes the exact opposite. It suggests an infinite accountability. It tells us that the self that is watching this video right now is an ancient, indestructible field of consciousness, a being that has existed before this life and will exist after it. This body is not a possession, it is a temporary stewardship. This lifetime is not a trial run, it is a critical mission your soul has assigned itself. The question, what is the meaning of life, is inverted. It becomes, what is the meaning I am giving to this life? Suddenly, challenges are no longer seen as punishments, but as part of a curriculum. Relationships are not accidents, but karmic assignments. And our deep, intuitive feelings, that sense of déjà vu, the inexplicable connection to a stranger, the feeling of being an old soul, are no longer psychological quirks. They are echoes. They are data leaking from the vast personal archive of your own Akashic record, reminding you that you are far older and wiser than your current identity presumes. This isn't just a comforting thought. It is a call to a higher level of responsibility for the energy we bring into the world. With a universe so full of information, a question naturally arises. What is the ultimate purpose? If our souls are on an endless journey of learning, where are we going? This is where the testimony of our witnesses reaches a tantalizing limit, a point where the information becomes too profound for language to contain. Tesla, for all his scientific confidence, spoke of his greatest ambition not as an achievement, but as a failure. He wanted to illuminate the entire planet, to create a second sun. At first, this sounds like a technological project, but his writings suggest something deeper. He believed that by flooding the Earth with a specific frequency of energy, he could awaken humanity's latent spiritual perception. He wanted to make the unseen world seen. Why did he stop? He said mankind was not prepared to embrace such revelations. It suggests he glimpsed the power that comes with this knowledge, a power so immense that in the wrong hands, it could be catastrophic. The final secret, the nature of the primary source itself, was a knowledge he felt he could not, or perhaps was not allowed to, fully disclose. Edgar Cayce's readings encountered a similar boundary. When asked to describe the ultimate state of a soul's journey, the transcripts often become abstract, poetic, and filled with long pauses. He spoke of souls eventually merging back into the all or the one creative force, but when pressed for details on what this state was like, the voice speaking through him would simply say, "It is the experience for which there are no words." He described it as a state of being where individuality is not lost, but infinitely expanded. A consciousness that is both itself and the entire universe simultaneously. He could point the way, he could describe the journey, but the final destination was a state of being, not a concept to be understood. Both men, the scientist and the seer, led us to the edge of the known universe. They drew a map to the door of ultimate reality. But they left us standing at the threshold, telling us that what lies beyond cannot be told. It must be experienced. This limit is not an admission of ignorance. It is a description of a fundamental barrier. Imagine trying to explain the color blue to a person born blind. You can use metaphors, the coolness of water, the vastness of the sky, but you can never transmit the raw experience. The data itself exists in a format incompatible with the listener's sensory tools. For Tesla and Cayce, they were staring directly at the color of reality, and our language, built to describe the shadows on the cave wall, simply collapsed. Tesla, the master of energy, understood that knowledge itself is a form of energy. To give humanity the secret of the primary source would be like handing a nuclear reactor to a child who has just discovered fire. It wasn't about greed or control. It was about responsibility. The frequency of the universe, he realized, was not just a power source. It was a sacred trust. To unlock it required not just a bigger brain, but a higher state of consciousness. a state of unconditional love and unity that humanity, in its current state of conflict and division, had not yet achieved. Casey's unspoken knowledge points to the same conclusion. The final merger with the All is not an intellectual puzzle to be solved. It is a vibrational state to be attained. It is the moment the soul's frequency becomes perfectly, harmoniously in tune with the frequency of the Creator. To describe this state would be like trying to capture a symphony in a single word. The information is not in the word, it is in the total experience of the music. The ultimate secret, they both seem to suggest, is guarded not by any entity, but by the very laws of consciousness. You can only understand what you are ready to become. If the evidence for a conscious universe is so compelling, why is it not the dominant worldview? The answer lies in the history of science itself. In the late 19th century, as Tesla was beginning his work, science was making a fateful choice. It was a war for the soul of physics. On one side was the vision of a universe filled with an unseen intelligent energy field, the ether, or akasha. This was the view of Tesla and other pioneers. But this vision was complex. It was mysterious. It hinted at a reality that was not easily measured or controlled. So the scientific establishment, led by figures like Einstein, chose a different path. They opted for a universe that was simpler, more mechanical, and fundamentally empty. The Michelson-Morley experiment failed to detect the ether, and so it was officially discarded. Science, in an effort to become purely objective, threw out the very concept of a living universe. Tesla's ideas about a limitless, free energy source derived from this field were ridiculed as the dreams of a madman. His later work was systematically defunded and classified. He was a genius when his inventions fit the paradigm. He was a mystic when they challenged it. Edgar Cayce's work faced a similar, though less official, barrier. His documented cures and stunningly accurate prophecies could not be denied, but they could be ignored. Because there was no scientific framework to explain how he did what he did, his thousands of readings were dismissed as anecdotal evidence. It was easier for the scientific and medical communities to pretend he didn't exist than to confront the fact that a man with no education, lying on a couch, could access information that their most brilliant minds could not. The problem was never a lack of evidence. It was a lack of a framework big enough to hold it. The materialist paradigm, which states that matter is the only reality and consciousness is a byproduct of the brain, became the unquestioned religion of the 20th century. In this worldview, Tesla's ether and Cayce's Akashic records are not just wrong, they are heresy. They suggest that the map of reality we have been given is missing the most important territory of all, the inner world of consciousness itself. This resistance is not just intellectual, it is deeply psychological. A mechanical universe, while seemingly bleak, is also strangely comforting. It absolves us of any ultimate responsibility. If we are merely biological machines living in a random, meaningless cosmos, then our choices are confined to this brief life. There is no cosmic justice, no karmic debt, no eternal consequence. It is a philosophy that allows for a certain kind of freedom, the freedom of indifference. It's a convenient truth for a civilization often driven by short-term gain and material acquisition. The worldview of Tesla and Cayce is far more demanding. It is a universe that is constantly watching, constantly recording, constantly responding. It suggests that the fabric of reality is woven from morality and meaning. It tells us that our thoughts are not private, and our actions echo through lifetimes. This is a terrifying prospect for an ego that wishes to operate without consequence. To accept a living, conscious universe is to accept that we are participants in a grand cosmic drama, with a role to play and a responsibility to the whole. Therefore, the ridicule aimed at these men was more than just scientific disagreement. It was an act of psychological self-defense. The label of mystic or pseudoscientist is a powerful tool to neutralize a threatening idea without having to engage with its evidence. It allows the comfortable paradigm to remain unshattered. By dismissing Tesla's ether as a fantasy and Cayce's readings as a parlor trick, the establishment wasn't just defending a scientific theory, it was defending an entire psychological infrastructure that protects humanity from the awesome and terrifying responsibility of its own immortality. Now that you have seen this evidence, you cannot unsee it. The testimony of the scientist and the seer has opened a door. The idea of a conscious, living universe is no longer just a fringe theory. It is a case supported by two of the most remarkable minds of the last century. They offer us a new map of reality, a map where science and spirit are not at war, but are two languages describing the same ocean of light. This is not a call to blind belief. It is an invitation to investigate, to begin seeing the world not as a collection of separate things, but as a network of interconnected energy, to start listening to your own intuition, those subtle signals from the universal field, to consider the possibility that your life is not a random accident, but a purposeful journey your soul is writing into the memory of the cosmos. The materialist paradigm is beginning to crack. Quantum physics now speaks of entanglement and observer effects. Medical science is documenting near-death experiences that defy explanation. The evidence that Tesla and Casey presented a century ago is now reappearing, this time from within the heart of the scientific establishment itself. The great exploration is not out there among the stars. It is in here, within the boundless inner universe of consciousness. If this investigation has expanded your sense of what is possible, leave a like, not for the algorithm, but as a signal. My mind is open. Subscribe if you are ready to examine the next piece of the puzzle. The journey beyond the veil has just begun.